Howdy folks, so today we have some stuff from eBay. So this is an LED filament light bulb. So basically what this is it's designed to be a light bulb, like an LED emulation of old-fashioned incandescent lights. And it comes in this sort of generic box. There's no branding on it anywhere, although it does have a good amount of information. Probably the most useful is the top here. You can see I have the 4-watt warm white version. Obviously this comes in a cool white dimmable variant. I'm not entirely sure what this is, but I'm going to assume that's somewhere, maybe halfway between warm and cool. And this bulb is actually, I have opened this, it is actually very, very warm. The color temperature is somewhere around 2900 Kelvin. In fact, it's actually warmer than an incandescent, which is actually quite nice. So it comes, packaged in this nice plastic, and well, it came all the way from China. It didn't break, so that's good. It is actually made of glass. This, from what I've heard, at least in some factories, they're actually converting factories that manufacture old incandescent bulbs to make these. So that's presumably why they're using glass, because I'm assuming that plastic might be cheaper, but plastic just looks awful, so I'm kind of glad that they're doing this. So of course the first thing that you notice is these 4 yellow-orange LED filaments. Now this bulb is an E27 base, designed for 120 volt mains, because I'm in North America. But you can get these bulbs in 240 volt versions as well. And apparently, at least according to the box, you can get this in a 85 to 265 volts, some sort of a full range model, which is kind of unusual. And the reason I say that is because you'll notice that you can't see any electronics in this. And it's because all the electronics are in the base. And with an E27, you've got about 3 centimeters by maybe 2-3 centimeters. So you do have a bit of room, but not a terrible amount. And there's not a lot of heat sinking in this either. So I'm kind of surprised they have a full range version. The way that these work, both the fixed voltage ones anyway, they're almost all capacitive droppers. So basically it's just a couple resistors and a capacitor, and 2 capacitors. There's one capacitor for dropping the voltage to the filaments, and another one to smooth it. Some of the Chinese sellers don't have that smoothing capacitor, and you end up getting a little bit of flicker, but this bulb does not have any flicker. I've already tested it and used it for quite a while now. These filaments run somewhere around 60 to 70 volts, and you can actually buy them independently. Some sellers are now selling them. You can actually buy like a pack of 10 for actually quite cheap. They're only like $1 or $2 each. And these filaments, there seem to be 2 different types that you can buy on eBay. One of them is this type, it's sort of the original version, which is, it's a glass substrate which that they then coat in sapphire, and then the LEDs are deposited on that, and the entire thing is then coated in an epoxy which is laced with a phosphor, which re-emits the light at the lower wavelength, which is what gives you that warm glow. The newer bulbs, they seem to have a metallized strip with LEDs deposited on it, and then sort of a plastic sleeve that they slide over it, which is made of the same material with the phosphor. And you can actually tell, you probably can't tell here, but these look sort of like they've been dipped. They're more tapered at the ends, and that's one way you can tell which type of filament you have. But I don't really care. I've heard that they're both very similar in light output. You probably wouldn't be able to tell. Although what I have noticed is that these are a little bit thinner than the newer plastic and metal ones. So maybe I guess that's a benefit. You can see that they're wired 2 in series. And then, so the 2 sets are wired in series, and that gives you roughly 120 volts across them. So the capacitor dropper doesn't have to drop that much. And that's one of the reasons why these light bulbs are are actually quite efficient. They don't have big transformers or anything like that in the base, and that's one of the things that sort of caught my eye with these is just how simple the power supplies are. I am not going to crack this one open because I actually kind of want to use it, but they're very simple components. They're all passive, so the likelihood that this will fail from a power supply failure is quite low, and that's sort of what I'm hoping for, because a lot of the LED bulbs, in fact, almost all the LED bulbs, they promise 10-year lifespan, 20-year lifespan, whatever. But it's normally not the LEDs that fail. It's usually the power supply, and that's kind of disappointing. So it'll be interesting to see how this survives. This is a 4-watt bulb. The way that they do it is usually one strip per one filament per watt is sort of the easy way to tell. So this is a 4-watt bulb, and I have measured it on a power meter. It is exactly 3.9 to 4 watts. The resolution of my meter isn't so great, but it does draw exactly what it says it does. And these have an efficiency of almost exactly 100 lumens per watt. So this is a 400 lumen bulb, which puts it very, very close to the efficiency, or the light output, of a 40-watt incandescent. And they say on the box, they make an 8-watt version. So an 8-watt is 800 lumens, and that would be equivalent to a 60-watt incandescent. So, of course, you're going to have twice as many filaments. So, I mean, it's going to look different. I guess that's the only complaint, is the fact that they're bright orange. So when the bulb is off, you kind of see that. But when the bulb is on, I mean, you honestly can't tell the difference at all. And if you're staring at the filaments, you're going to be blind anyway, so it's not really a big deal. They have a very good light output pattern. Some other YouTubers have shown the light pattern. They've actually measured it with a solar cell, and I don't have a rig to do that, but in my own opinion, I have a bunch of incandescent bulbs I've tested this against, and it has a very good A-shaped light output. So it fires on the sides, it's got good side lobes, fires on the front, and also fires a little bit to the back as well. So putting this in a fixture that was designed for an incandescent bulb is actually going to result in almost the same light pattern, which is great. It does have, you do notice little shadows, it sort of creates, at least this bulb anyway, because it's got the 4 filaments, it creates sort of like a 4-point star in terms of brightness. So there are points that are brighter than in between, but if you have any kind of shade at all on your light fixture, you'll never notice that. It's only if you have an exposed bulb that's just sticking down. And at that point, I mean, it's sort of up to you of how decorative how much you care about that. Most of the incandescents have sort of round filaments, which sort of avoid that issue. This bulb makes a rattling noise. Not sure if you can hear that. And I haven't opened it, and I don't particularly want to find out what it is. I feel like it may just be glass that was possibly broken in the base during either manufacturing or shipping, but it doesn't affect the performance of the bulb. It doesn't get very hot. It's only 4 watts, like I said, and I'm kind of surprised at how cool it stays after it's been running for a few hours. Because the only way that this thing could possibly be cooled is, I want to say that this is not full of air. This is not pressurized. It's not a vacuum, and I highly doubt that they would go to the effort of pumping in some sort of inert gas like they do in an incandescent bulb. So I am pretty sure this is just filled with air. So there is possibly some convection that can happen in this bulb, and there's possibly some conduction, but this whole area, it gets it gets warm, but it's not uncomfortable. I'd say it doesn't get more than 35 degrees Celsius after it's been running a lot. So, I mean, and that should help the lifespan of this. So I'm gonna record how well this does over time, and hopefully I'll make another video in a year's time or so, and I'll report back on how these are doing. I'm going to buy a bunch more of these, a bunch of the 8-watt versions, and we'll see how that goes. So thanks for watching.